Welcome to the Leadership in Land podcast, where we talk about what actually moves the needle in a land business. This show isn't about get-rich-quick schemes or magic mail pieces. It's about leadership, systems, decision-making, the stuff you figure out after your third or fourth pricing mistake, or maybe your first "this deal looked great on paper" moment. Tune in with me in the episode today, and let's dive right in.
You're listening to the RE Tipster Podcast Network.
Okay, so quick question for you. Have you heard of our Skool community? I just want to make sure to invite you to check that out. If you're listening to this episode, it's actually kind of old, to be honest with you. And so if you want our latest, if you want our greatest content we're putting out, real conversations about leadership, decision-making, building a land business that actually works in the real world, get inside our Skool community where you get access to the free leadership course, plus bonus episodes, discussions, and insights that honestly just don't make it onto the podcast. So if you're serious about this, you want to learn more about leadership, get in the community, check it out, leadershipinland.com or school.com/leadershipinland. All right, let's get in the episode. Hey there, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Welcome back to Leadership in Land. I'm your host, Dave Denniston of Generation Family Properties and the UnConference. Well, I was inspired and I'm going to reach toward quarterly, trying to let you know what have been 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 recent sales that have happened for us. And what I intend these to be are case studies, different places across the country that selling land in. And I really was inspired by Pete, who did the whole partner with Pete thing and land conquest. And I thought they did awesome. And I thought it was so interesting always to look, what are other people doing? What do things look like? And I want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and what it looks like along the way for me and my journey and what we have going on. So that's kind of the purpose of this particular podcast today. So let me share with you my screen. Those of you that are listening on audio, I will try my best to walk you through what we're doing here. So we're going to walk you through 4 properties today that we had together. And this first one was a property in Saline County, Arkansas, 1.9 acres. This particular one, if we look back at history here, we had a hard money loan on it. When we got it, we bought it for about $21K and change. We bought this in October of 2025. So here we are, I'm recording this on April 1st. So this is 6 months ago. We originally had it, I think, for probably 46, 47K, something like that. We ended up selling it for cash in this particular case, which after realtor and title fees, I think we had it under for 37, if I remember correctly, but then there were a bunch of title fees and realtor fees and stuff like that. So our net was 32K on it. Interest that we paid was about $1,700. Cost of the property was $21K. Our cost of our perk was about $900. So really, in terms of what we netted before staff costs or mailing costs or other things like that, was about $8,600 from this property. So we didn't sell it for quite a double. Again, we sold it for about 36K, 37K, something like that. But then there were various fees subtracted from that off the top. It turned out okay. You know, I would say in this world, this is very typical of what I've seen. We think we can sell something at XYZ price and we feel that's a competitive price. We sold this, I think it was March 17th. So this sold a couple of weeks ago. So we held it for about 5 months, which is pretty typical for a lot of our deals that you'll see here. 5, 6 months, 7 months, something like that is pretty typical for us right now. Some sell faster, some take longer, much longer in some cases. So we found a good market here. Saline County, I would say, as we started to look at this property, we knew that there was power. We got it perk tested, obviously. It passed perk test. So it was a good property. It perk tested for a 4-bedroom home altogether. There was no zoning restrictions. It really checked off all of the boxes of the kinds of things that we see. But even with that, it didn't sell within 3 months. It's taken longer to sell, and we had to cut the price 2 or 3 times in order to make it happen. We can see a nice green property, nice looking trees out here, good road access. It's kind of on the V here. The property is right here on the V. So good property. Glad it sold. Gosh, I wish it would have sold for more, but here we are. So that was property 1. Property 2 here is in Walker County, Georgia, 1-acre property. This property, I believe we actually got through PPC, the first property we got through mail, I think. This one, we bought it for about $8,600 here. You can see we bought it in September. So you can see September, October purchases. We had it listed, I think, for $24K, $25K to start. So initially it was like, shoot, this could be a 200% margin type property. But guess what? We had to drop the price a couple of times. And by the time everything was said and done on this guy, we had sales price after title costs. Again, I think it sold for $18K, something like that. We ended up selling at $16. We had a little bit interest as we borrowed on this. You'll notice in both cases here, we didn't have any equity partners. We borrowed money to make it happen. The cost of property was the $8,600 I mentioned earlier, and we grossed $6,700. So again, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It's okay. Both of these I'd call small little singles. They're keeping the lights on, allowing us to keep doing what we're doing, but it certainly ain't making us rich. This property, again, we had it checked out. It had power available, had city water available, nice lot, good area, nice and treed. Also in the southeast, obviously, being in Georgia. Mobile homes being allowed on this one. So a lot of good things on here. Camping's not allowed. So it definitely had some zoning restrictions, but it wasn't like in an HOA or something crazy bad. So another solid particular property. The next one here, Galveston County, Texas. We acquired this one via PPC, by the way, too. Less than an acre. So it was a small guy. What was interesting about this particular one was actually bordering a cemetery. So it was a little hairy. We, again, had a hard money loan on this guy. We originally bought this for about $30K. We had it listed for like $55, $60 initially. So we knew it wasn't quite a double. We knew it had a little bit of hair on it with the cemetery. But we were hopeful, it'd sell pretty quickly. With this one, we bought August 1st. We ended up selling it March 17th. So 8 months or so, again, in that kind of range, 6 to 8 months-ish, 5, 6, 7 months. You can see here's our sale price, 39 grand. We had interest of about 3. Cost of the property was 30 grand. Again, making about 6 grand. So we thought we could make 20, 25, maybe 30K on it. And we ended up selling for a profit. It's just not a big profit. It just keeps on moving. Which with this property, like I said, it was a little bit kind of weird, but it had utilities. It has water, sewer, power, all the stuff. So nice lot. With that, it is single family, right? So has some restrictions on it. RVs not allowed, mobile homes not allowed. So not the most ideal lot, but it wasn't an HOA or something like that had a lot of costs associated with it. So yeah, that one turned out okay. Made a little bit of dough on it. Now this next one is interesting. So Maricopa, Arizona. So you'll notice, and this is very typically where we have been, right? We have one property here in Saline County. We have another property here in Walker, Georgia. We have another property here in Galveston, which, by the way, these last 3 sold for cash. This one in Maricopa had some flood zone on it. So we'll take a little deeper at that one. We bought this originally in May of 2024. And we sold it, right? We bought it for $13K. I think we originally sold it $30K owner financing with $3,000 down or something like that. The person paid on it for close to a year, probably I think it was 9 months or something like that. They returned it to us. And so we got it back in April of 2025. And so we've held it for about 11 months. So for me, if we ever get a return or something like that, which we will do with unrecorded land contracts, the time and inventory, I don't consider 2024. I consider it from when it came back. So it was on the market for about 11 months till it sold. This one, though ironically, looks to be potentially the most profitable of the bunch. So sales price was $27K. $13K was the cost of the property. So obviously that's a double. Although it is owner financed, you'll notice here's what we got. Here's our actual closing statement. So selling price of $27K, initial deposit of $1,000. We're carrying $21,000 on the note. And it was about $5,700 between the two was the deposit they made. So well over a 20% initial deposit into the property, which was great. So definitely a qualified person, which is something I've been emphasizing as we do owner financing. Certainly not concerned with it at all. This one, by the way, one of the things we've been transitioning to is doing more and more deeds of trust. So this is a deed of trust type situation where everything's recorded with the county. And we'd have to go through those processes in order to unwind it if that ever happened. But obviously with a much more solid down payment, this person is likely to be someone that sticks around for a while and doesn't default. So we'll see where it goes. A little bit more about this property. You can see on the Google map here. Let's see. Pull out the GIS actually. So here was the property. So there was this kind of area on this northern end. Here was that legal and physical access, but there's a wash coming through both sides. And I think this was typical of some of the properties I bought in 2024. What I noticed was our mailing costs were going up and up and up. And it was hard to acquire properties. And so in some cases, we bought some stuff that wasn't the best possible product. The last three we looked at are all good products. This one, frankly, probably not the best product we've bought to put on the market. With this wash going through the property that looks like a Y, it takes up a big part of it. And we had a lot of interest in this because we priced it pretty low. If you look at other comps that don't have washes going through them, they're probably sell for 32, 34, 35 in this particular subdivision in Maricopa County being where Phoenix is at. So, this is not far from Phoenix. It's a good area, just not that well developed compared to places closer to Phoenix. But this person saw enough value in it that, hey, they would buy it. So this just shows you even something that kind of sucks can sell. I probably wouldn't buy it today just because we're getting so much more stricter on it, knowing that we don't want to be holding something for a year or 2 years or whatever. We need it to move faster. Ironically, our most profitable property on a gross profit basis, but that's kind of what I would look at today. So overall, I think the theme of what we've been talking about here is the business still works. We're still making a profit, but that margin is getting squeezed. Something that we thought we could double, we ain't doubling on. We're making $6,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a deal when you take into account perk test, interest, the cost basis, but not staff costs or things like that. I know gross profit normally is calculated a little bit differently, but I like looking at that all-in cost in terms of the basic raw inputs into a property. So we're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to stretch ourselves in finding the right products. Right now in this season, I'm recording this on April 1st. Hopefully this gets released in the next week or two. I really think that the lessons to be learned is be careful of the products you are buying. Be very careful of your margins in today's environment. But there's plenty of opportunity in the business. Just be careful what you're getting. I would love to hear a case study from you. Share a property, whether it's good or bad, long hold, short hold. I would love to hear from you on what's working and not working for you today. I think we can learn from both scenarios and how you're approaching this business and what you're up to. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you soon. See ya. All right, well, that wraps up today's episode. If this was helpful, don't just let it live in your head. Take one idea from today and actually put it in practice. That, my friends, is where the real progress happens. And if you want to check out and keep the conversation going with people, you want to check out a bunch of free resources and talk about the challenges we all go through, please come and check out our Leadership in Land community on Skool. We got bonus content, real discussions, and a free leadership course. No hype required at all. Check out leadershipinland.com or go to Skool, Skool.com/leadershipinland. Appreciate you being here. Talk soon.